we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. Glad you're all here. Really am. You know what? The last 2 days have been, I think, great shows. You guys have been on fire. The comment section. I've been going back and reading the comments after the fact because it's difficult. To put it mildly, it's difficult for me to try to keep up with all of that while I'm, doing my rants and everything else. And, the fact that Mark and I literally stare at each other while this goes on, there's something that's part of the whole, I don't know, the whole show kind of works in a lot of ways because of that. You know what I mean? I think if I start heading off in directions that may not be in the best interest of the boat, I will see a look that will let me know that. And if I'm heading in the right direction, I usually see the bobblehead. And for that reason, in spite of the fact that I've got screens now everywhere that I can read what you're saying, like if I just look in any direction, it's there. Nevertheless, I don't spend a lot of time looking at the chats. So going back and looking them over after the fact, we really have been on fire. The last 2 or 3 shows really have just been absolutely awesome. You guys have been great. That being said, they've not been particularly cheery. We debated, honestly, we talked about making tonight's show called Fun, Damn It. That really was one of the angles that I was thinking about, because I don't regret the honesty of the last 3 days, not even for a moment. It's absolutely essential that we talk about the things that are necessary so that you can live your best life. That really is nuts and bolts stuff in terms of keeping yourself sober and keeping yourself on an even keel. See what I did there? I worked in a boat reference, but keeping yourself on an even keel and following a plan that has worked for many, is something that we really do need to spend a lot of time talking about. And one of the most important things that you can do is work through the things in your past. But, if you spend too much time concentrating on exactly that, you can start to lose sight of exactly why you do that. And the reason that you put up with it, and the reason that you sort of suffer, right? Because that's what it is. Taking ownership and working through all of that, there's suffering there. There's no other way to put it. And you don't suffer so that you can be sober. because people get sober and stay sober and suffer their entire life. You suffer so that you can become a happy, functioning member of society. I think it was Michael Carbone that said yesterday, there really are a lot more people out there that are living life the right way than there are people out there that are struggling. I paraphrase, but that's right in the ballpark of what was said. So last night, my bobble-headed partner rang me up late, and I had some auctions so that this time my stuff was selling. I wasn't buying stuff. I was selling stuff, and I was sort of watching them. So I was up anyway. And he sent me a text to let me know that there was some really cool stuff going on in the sky. And just before the show started, I was telling him it was so overcast here in northern Nevada last night that I barely caught one shooting star through the entire process. And they were, apparently it was quite a light show. It was a pretty cool thing. If you guys are not hip to this, there was Mark could explain this a whole lot better than I could. But the bottom line is there was a large meteor shower, correct, Mark? Okay. And
a little bit if you want me
to. Do please.
Yeah, there was, guys, it was could have been very historic, but it was still impressive was what happened. We had a comet that actually broke apart unexpectedly, and it left some debris. And so they weren't sure how big the pieces were going to be or how fast it was going to be hitting. And we've passed through this tail before. It's an expected time frame that this was just supposed to be a little bit more intense, upwards of 1,000 an hour, guys. But it didn't get that. But there were 3 fireballs that hit the ground from potato-sized rocks. So that was pretty impressive. It's something we don't see every day. It's something that's not completely normal. But it's a very beautiful thing, and as you're talking about this, Tommy, I took my daughter out last night, out in the country, and I have to say this, and please, I'm not trying to take your time, Tommy. It's just
we got time.
Is that okay? Yeah, okay.
Not my time.
But this goes on the whole line of learning how to have fun again and doing it the right way. I told my daughter earlier on in the evening, hey, if we got clear skies, we'll get in the car, we'll get out of the city and go where it's dark so we can see it, right? And I learned so much about my daughter last night. It was unreal. Just getting in the car with her and having her sit next to me with the car shut off and nothing else going on because we were looking up at the sky, right? And let me explain this because I haven't told Tommy this either. I haven't had a chance to talk to him at this length. But so we find a spot, right? And we're looking, and as I'm pulling up to this spot, it's a dead-end street, and it's kind of out in the country, like I said. So I was parked kind of catty corner, and she starts freaking out, right? Like, Dad, doing all this kind of thing. And she said, look at that. I look up, and there's 10 deer in the field.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I'm like, what in the world? So I'm like starting to freak out a little bit myself because that's a lot. I mean, it was like a huge amount of deer. And guys, I'm wasn't even a half mile outside of town. I mean, this is but anyway, and they didn't even want to move. I mean, I put my brights on and everything, deer in the headlight look, right? That's where that comes from. So anyway, so that happened. And then, so I shut my car off, and we got a newer car, and I haven't shut the thing off with trying to kill the interior lights at the same time. I thought I could leave it running and kill all the interior lights and the dash navigation board thing, and no. So I had to shut the whole car off. So we had to sit there and wait. But as we're doing that, she says to me, she said, Dad, I've never seen so many stars in my life. And it really struck me funny because I was like, really? You've not, it was really kind of odd because for me as a kid, I was outside all the time. And this is where I'm going with this because, so we start looking up and I said, well, as your eyes start to acclimate, you'll start to see more and more stars. And then look right over here, and I pointed to where to look at. I said, you'll start seeing some shoot across the sky. And sure enough, no sooner than I said that, she looked up and there went a couple shooting across the sky. And it was so impressive to her. I mean, I could legitimately hear the excitement in her voice. And that ain't something that we typically get. She's a teenager, right? And so with that being said, that happened, right? So we go to leave, and we were still trying to find a darker spot. So I parked out by the road a little bit, shut the lights off again, had the windows down, and we're sitting there, and we hear this burp, burp, like this, you know. She said, Dad, what? She started freaking out again. She said, what is that? I said, honey, those are just bullfrogs. She'd never heard of bullfrog, ever. And it started to make me realize, you know, even back to this conversation of having fun. That's real fun. That's real stuff. This isn't something that I had to generate or make anything out of. Or buy or put a chemical in my brain to try to, you know, trick myself into thinking that I was having fun. And that's exactly what I felt at that moment. Not only did we bond over it, she told me 4 or 5 times, I had a great time last night, Dad. You just don't even hear that from a 15-year-old, ever. You just don't, you know? No, so it was kind of special. It really was for me and her. And it made me realize that, you know, I've had fun last night, but it also pointed out some of the places where I've failed as a father. You know, haven't really followed through with what I need to be doing. You know, some of that technology just needs to get put away for a while, and we need to go do what we need to do to have real fun. Anyway, so that was my story from last night. You go ahead, man.
No, thank you. Here's the thing. As I said, I only saw one shooting star, and it reminded me, I mean, you know, you see shooting stars. You don't see them constantly. You know, every once in a while you run across someone who will say, yeah, I've never seen one. It always blows my mind when I hear that. It's usually people that live in cities. But if you spend any time in the country, you get away from the lights, obviously you see a lot more up there. And the last time that I saw a shooting star, I was with a friend, and he made a reference that it was a drug reference. He said that every time he sees a shooting star, he always thinks about, you know, one other drug addict, one other junkie is the term he used, burning out. And we were on a prison yard when I saw this, and it was in the summer. They have what's called night yard, and they allow you out there at night, and it's you know, even though you're out in the middle of nowhere, because they don't put these things in the middle of the city, the yards are lit up. I mean, it's like daylight even when it's not. But we happened to be on our way back, so we were between the buildings that we lived in and the yard, which is, you know, maybe a quarter of a mile away, and we were on the only part of the compound that's dark. And we saw this shooting star, and just before that, I was doing the prison version of the lifeboat. I was out there with a group of guys, and we were talking very much like we do here, and except with a lot more F-bombs and a lot more people who interrupt me. But the same kind of a principle, right? And the guy said to me, every time I see one of those, you know, it reminds me of a junkie, you know, one you know, more person gone. And I said, yeah, you know what? I could see that. I could completely see why, you know, someone would say that. I said, but what you need to do now is look up and see all of the stars that are still there, right? Because you see that one shooting star, but you look up and there is an infinite, right, number of stars, an inability to even try to calculate the number that you could see in this one sort of snapshot. And it stuck with me. And last night, Michael Carbone's comment sort of made me think of it, because really, people, it's very easy to focus on the negative. It's very easy to focus on the 300 people a day, you know, that we're losing, or 400 or whatever we're up to. How many people today said, this is the day I quit? You know what I mean? How many people today said, I just hit my 30-day mark, or I just hit my 60-day mark, or I just hit my 1-year mark? Granted, you know, we've said it before, we're going to lose more than we win. But when we win, right? When we win, the effect is as great as looking up and seeing all of those stars. You know, truthfully, it's astounding the number of people who become affected. And we've talked about this before, but I honestly don't think I ever do this justice. It's just too hard, you know, to really try to paint the picture of just what one sober person can do. Yeah. You know, we've had a depressing week. We talked about it a couple of nights ago. A depressing 10 days, you know, 2 18-year-old kids that went nuts and ended up, killing tons of people, and everybody is scratching their head and saying why. And to me, I don't know, it's not a political program, people, but the why was so obvious. I felt like, how in the world does anyone, well, let's see. You shut down school for 2 years. You don't let anybody get anywhere near each other, right? You force them all to wear masks so they can't see each other's faces, and you got two guys who don't know what their fathers are. The most recent one, his mother is a drug addict, and he's got a grandmother raising him. And you start looking at the big picture, and you go, man, this is all what we're talking about every single day here, right? If we could roll back the clock, and his mother had gotten sober 2 or 3 years ago, you realize the number of lives that would be different today because of that. I think we lose sight of the fact that one person who gets sober and becomes a dad, or becomes a mom, or becomes a friend, or a son or a daughter, or just another productive member of society, that really changes so many lives. Things that we will never know, things that could have happened that we will never see, right? And I don't want the lifeboat. It's a fine line, right? We're always walking a tightrope. Damn, we're always walking a tightrope. And it's a fine line between, being real honest about the past and owning it, and all of the responsibilities that comes along with that statement. Because it's easy as hell to say. It's a lot more difficult to do. But along with all of that, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I swear on everything that is good on this planet, I've never been happier than I am today. For real. And I talk to people who really struggle with that concept. And we've done shows on this. We've done a bunch of shows on this. Happiness ain't gonna knock on your door.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to say that I see it, guys. I see it in his face. You have to understand. When we first started this, we weren't always like this, right? We were just getting to know each other, even though it didn't take us long to do that because we're pretty much the same person. But
right.
It really is kind of like, especially when the drug conversation. But guys, I seen. I mean, you could see that man was trying his best to do what he needed to do. And guess what? He did it. But I don't think he did it in the way he thought he was going to. You know what I mean? And I think it worked out good for him because he's extremely happy, and I can see it on his face. Go back. I would challenge you guys. Go back and watch maybe before we became the Lifeboat, when it was the Tommy Scoville show. Go back and watch the first couple videos. Not that those are bad. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that you'll see a different facial expressions. You can just see the happiness. And I liken it to like a pregnant woman with that glow that they get.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, it just really is something that you see, and I know that I'm not the only one that sees it. So, and thank you.
No, I appreciate that, Mark. I really do. And you know what? From the people around me, I hear it a lot. From the people that know me, and family and things like that. And people, I really am. I mean, I'm happy. And I'll tell you something. It's not. I don't want anyone to think that life became rosy and that there's no stresses or anything else. I have, I'm running my own business, and currently, people, there's probably more stress in this business that I'm doing. I mean, I love it because these little instruments of time telling are, the thing I am most enthralled with on the planet, bar none. But it's the way that if you're going to be successful in this business, you roll the dice. Right? And very often rolling the dice can mean running up about 35 grand in credit and 30 days later needing to pay that credit. And in the past, that would have been the kind of stress that would have literally killed me. It would have been the kind of stress that would have absolutely driven me immediately to a drug to take the edge off, right? To mellow me out or whatever. I am having fun in the emotional world that I'm now a member of. And I know that this may sound crazy to some people, but I'm having fun with every part of this. And by that, I mean, I like it. Hey, you know what? How long has it been since I did that? I'm having fun on the bad days. I'm enjoying every part of this ride. I really am. You know, I'm learning to get to a point where I can laugh at things that I was never able to laugh at before. You know, I'll give you just a perfect example. When you work on one of these little things, they sit in a little device that holds the watch in place. Obviously, you can't hold a watch in your hand and work on it because that just, you know, wouldn't be very practical. You have to lock this thing in place, and you do it in what's called a movement holder. Well, the other day I got a phone call, and the person said it was the Department of Motor Vehicles, and apparently there's been some confusion, and I talked about this on a couple of other shows in the past. They're really having a struggle with this damn license plate thing. Anyway, I go running out to the car to get the piece of paper from them that should have a 6-digit number on it, and I'm going to read them the 6-digit number. Well, I was right in the middle of doing something, so I ran out with this movement holder in my hand. And I'm going through the car, and because I had this thing, it's just sort of, you know, I went and did what I did. In the process, I dropped this thing, came out of the movement holder, and didn't just hit the concrete. Like I went for the foot save, which didn't happen, by the way. But I went for the foot save, which had to have been funny to look at. But this thing bounced 3.5 feet off the ground after hitting the concrete.
Oh, man.
And there are certain parts of a watch that just simply can't take that. You know, every once in a while, if it hits just the perfect way, you just might get lucky. I did not get lucky. I damaged this watch more than likely to the point that it'll be a write-off. This is going to go into a parts bin kind of a thing, and maybe someday I come across a similar watch and the two become one. But it was a big chunk of money lost, and at any other time in my life, people, there's no chance I laugh at this. But I promise you, I laughed for 15 minutes. And when my partner came out and said, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "I just destroyed that super auto that I had in the," and he said, "And that is funny. Why?" I said, "If you could have seen how high this thing bounced off the concrete, like it really was something out of a cartoon. I'm not exaggerating when I say it bounced 3 feet. Like it had to have just hit in the absolute perfect way." And when it was all said and done after the fact, he said to me, "You know, you've come a long way in life." And I said, "Because I could laugh at that." He said, "No, because you're not freaking out about it. I mean, laughing is one thing," he said, "but you know, the guy that started this business with me, I would have heard something hit the inside of the wall of the garage. Like you might have broke a window out of a car, you'd have hit something with a baseball bat. I made a decision that I'm going to have fun, damn it. I really am. I peed away too much of the time that I had on this planet to spend any more time not being happy. Now, doesn't mean I'm not going to have to work through crap. It doesn't mean I'm not going to call Mark and go, "I'm having one of those days." Like these things are going to happen. The difference is I don't run from anything anymore, right? I'm not running from any of my problems anymore.
Awesome.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to face them head on. And I'm rolling the dice, right? In life, in so many different ways. I'm rolling the dice. I'm taking chances, and I'm having a good time. People, if you're not enjoying yourself, there is a recipe to change that. Honestly, I know that there are 400,000 books written on this, but some of the stuff is so basic that it's terrifying. Truthfully, you know, if you're miserable, have you ever actually sat down to ask yourself why? I have this conversation with somebody at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, where they'll say, "I'm just not happy," and I'll go, "Have you thought maybe about why you're not happy?" And I always get the same answer. They'll go, "What do you mean?" It's like saying 1 minus 2 is, what do you mean? I mean, this is a pretty cut and dry question, right?
Yeah.
Have you thought about why you're unhappy? Well, I'm just not, you know, I'm just not happy. Are you trying to be? Seriously, are you making a damn effort? There's somebody, and I don't have permission to tell the story, so I won't necessarily use the person's name, but there's a person that I am friends with and that I work with on the boat who said, "I need a hobby. I need a hobby." And I said, "You're absolutely right, you do. Because hobbies bring fun into people's lives. And when you get to a point where things are starting to go good, find a freaking hobby, right? There's something about that you're actually going out to seek fun. So I said, what did you have in mind? And I'll be honest with you people. I figured in my head, in a 5-second, brief period of time, I figured out every single thing that he could have possibly told me, right? For hobbies. I thought, man might take up golf, right? I started going through all of the things that he might decide to do. He said, I've always wanted to shoot bow and arrows. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, I'll tell you something. If you had given me 400 guesses, that wouldn't have been one of them. But here's the thing. What makes somebody happy and what makes one person, I know how many people look at me and go, what the hell's up with him and the watches, right? I realize that for most people, these are just things that tell time, right? It's not that way for me. Most people could not imagine sitting and watching an auction where 75 things in a row come up that you care absolutely nothing about so that you can get to that one that you really do care about, right? Most people could not imagine having any fun doing that, much less doing it, say, I don't know, 9 hours a day, right? I mean, there's always one going on. People, I won't lie to you, occasionally I will look down during the show because one is going on, right? This is just, what it is.
Well, I would say this too, just to put that in perspective for everybody real quick, what you're saying there about yourself. There's a lot of times when we connect at the beginning of the show, he's got his loop on. Literally got his loop on.
Yeah.
Looking down at watches and stuff. So I mean, this is not exaggerated is my point. It's 100%. But yeah, anyway.
Niall just made a comment that
Okay.
Let me make sure that I didn't hold on here.
It's up there.
I'm so good with computers. He said, happiness is hard to define for addicts. It will always happen when you least expect it. Just looking in another person's eyes and laughing together is a huge step. I'll tell you another brief story because this really brings it up.
That's a good one.
What was said was so politically incorrect that there was no chance I'm repeating it. Now, it wasn't racist. It wasn't anything like that. It was just something that somebody who didn't really think through what they said something so messed up, right? But they were describing a place that I was trying to get directions to a place that was selling watches. And the lady who was giving us instructions on how to get there said something so hellaciously inappropriate that I looked at my partner looked at me, and without saying a word, we both were trying to figure out a way to sprint out of that building, right? Because we wanted to fall down laughing. And we didn't want to laugh in this woman's face. I don't think she had any idea that what she said was as inappropriate as it was. Just one of those people that might be a little rough around the edges. So at the same time, we both said, well, we've got to get rolling. As we were walking out the store, this happened today, we were laughing. I mean, like little kids doing the, trying to not laugh out loud thing. And when we got outside, we got into the car. We were in the Prius and we couldn't drive. I'm not kidding you. We laughed so hard we had to pull over on the side of the road and just gut rolling laughing. And my poor partner is, stuck with not just a business partner, but Captain Tommy Scoville, right? So I said to him, I don't remember the last time that I laughed that hard. Like, I really don't. It went on for 15 minutes. I said, no drugs, no alcohol, right? Nothing, just, something really funny that struck both of us. And for the rest of the day, I would repeat just part of the phrase that the woman said. And the two of us would just burst into laughter again. And
that's awesome.
There really is something to be said for that.
There is.
I mean, when you share something like that and you look in someone's eyes, and Mark said this, I don't know how many shows ago because we lose track, but he was talking about the time where it was the first good, real belly laugh that he had. He touched on it again last night. People, it's like anything else. Hold on one second. I could smoke meats every day. There you go.
There you go.
Right? There you go. Whatever it is, honestly, get a hobby, find fun, find somebody that you like laughing with and spend a little more time with them. Right? I mean, you as much as it's a mystery, it's not a mystery. It really isn't.
Right.
If it works, do more of it. If it doesn't work, do less of it. Right? I mean, we're not talking about splitting the atom or E = MC squared, right? Unfortunately, the illusion that drugs make you happy is something that is difficult to get over, right? And it is a freaking illusion.
100.
You probably don't realize it until you sober up, but it's an illusion. You know,
It really is.
If you remember a show that I don't remember whether it was an interview or if it was one of the Wednesdays with Niall, but he talked about standing at a bar and looking at people and being angry at them, right? Look at them and they're having fun, right? You know, look at them, they're having a great time. And he said, you know, we lose perspective, people. We really do believe that, oh God, look at him, right? That guy's got, you know, he's doing dope. He must be happy as hell. No. He's waking up, wondering where the next one is coming from. He's trying to figure out how he's going to take $10 and turn it into a $50 a day habit. It's a miserable crap existence.
Yep.
You know, that even honestly, there was never a period of time where it was fun.
Yeah.
What it was efficient.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good word.
What the desire for me was the simplicity. I didn't have to worry about all of the things in life that I now worry about. And I've come to love all the things in life that I worry about. For real. Talking to my son and my daughter, right? All of those little things, whether they're having a good day, whether they're having a bad day, I'm a dad, you know, and being there for them, that's huge, right? Dealing with people who, you know, now in my line of work, I buy things at auctions. About half of them say, where do you want that shipped? The other half go, when are you going to pick this up? Right? So you buy something that's in another country or in another state and they don't ship it. So you got to find somebody and so I'm building relationships with all of these people around the world who basically just run and pick things up for me, put them in boxes and send them to me and charge me money. And some of them are awful. Some of them are fantastic, but dealing with every one of them is just an excitement and it's an adventure. You know, these are things that I never would have done. The simplicity of addiction was, I have it, I'm trying to get it. That was it. There was nothing else in life, right? Nothing else in life, at the exclusion of all else, at the exclusion of being a father or a son or a brother or a friend, right? I was a junkie.
Yep.
That's all I was.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, people, this life is a lot more fun. And Mark nailed it. He really did. If you go back and you watch the early shows, I don't like the phrase "fake it till you make it." I never have. I've told you that 1,000 times. But I was living as if. I really was. It wasn't that I was not happy. It was that I was working my ass off at staying happy.
Yeah.
Honestly, it wasn't that I wasn't happy. I was just putting a lot of effort into remaining happy. You know, it was a constant struggle to seek it out, to search it out, to try to find, you know, little nuggets of happiness in days that sometimes were just not filled with that, you know. And I was learning the learning curve for everything, people. I mean, I think that often we lose perspective on the lifeboat. When on July 31st, I had been out of the halfway house 20 days when we started the lifeboat.
People miss that,
you know,
man.
So, yeah, I mean, if not quite 20 days, I think 17 days, something like that.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks out of the halfway house. So I had gone from being in a lockdown situation for the last 8 or 9 years of my life to freedom. And there was the learning curve. Half of the time I was terrified. I'm not kidding. I would walk into a crowd of people and I would smell 6 different perfumes.
Yeah.
And it literally makes your head spin. When you haven't smelled perfume in 7 or 8 years or smelled anything, you know, in prison, there are very few odors. None of them are pleasant, you know, and it was such a culture shock that, you know, there's an assumption that you walk out and you think, oh man, that guy, he has to be the happiest person in the entire world. You can go online and actually watch videos of people leaving prison who have been down, say, anything more than 4 or 5 years. Watch those videos.
Yeah.
And tell me if you think those people look happy. Those people look terrified because we were entering a world that we didn't have any idea and, you know, how we were going to really make it. And more importantly, we knew that there was a 250-pound gorilla. You know, for some people that gorilla is called alcohol. For some people that gorilla is called meth. Mine's called heroin. but there was that 250-pound gorilla out there that just wanted to take me down. And that was a stressful thing. And, as I started to do all this, the learning curve for everything that was going on, let's be really honest, I sucked at YouTube. I don't mean the talking and all of that. I just didn't have any idea what I was doing. I can talk about sobriety. This is a passion of mine. I can talk about this endlessly. I can talk about this. It's something that means a lot to me. I really do want to help people. But the nuts and bolts of it, the damn videos and editings and all of that. If you stuck around and you've been here, I hit a vape pipe. Remember that? Yeah. Right? I hit that vape thing. Boy, did that mess up a couple of months, right? Because I had no idea how to edit a video or do anything else. I had nothing to hide. It's been a ride, people. Yeah. It really has. It has. But if you had told me then that I would look back on that whole situation and laugh, and I do, people, I promise you.
We laugh.
Anytime it gets brought up, Mark, and I giggle hysterically. And not the gloating giggle.
No, not at all. It's just
we're taking down the lifeboat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, just I can't believe we let any of that get to us.
Right.
I can't believe that I bought into any of the negativity. And that's another thing, people. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh no, and I know better. That's the thing, guys. I've had a YouTube channel for how long, and I have to say, the nastiness and the hate doesn't just stick on one genre, right? I mean, it's all over the place. So,
no question.
And I'd seen it, and even with me seeing that, I couldn't see the solution, right? I mean, we're trying to figure out a solution, but we figured it out. We got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But at the same time, both of us were learning. And like I said, I think that's why we haven't said this in a minute, but that's why me and Tommy work so well here doing what we're doing, is because obviously I don't like being on camera, right? It bothers me. It affects the way that I speak. Tommy's not like that. I could come out here. I do shows when I need to, and I actually have fun doing it. But it is something I have to work myself up to. You know what I mean? You got to prepare your mind a little bit. Tommy isn't so good on the technical part of that stuff. Try to be nice, man.
That's a nice way to put it.
Try to be nice. No, you actually do pretty decent. A lot better than a lot of other people that I've seen try to do channels. But anyway, and both of us kind of play off of each other for that. But at the same time, we have that core belief that's the same. And the stuff that we've been through, we're able to now not so much focus on the addiction part of it and all the negative stuff. Now we're both to a place where we can see how to get to the happiness. And I've said this I don't know how many times. You got to replace those memories. You got to make new memories. And that stuff that Tommy did today with his partner, laughing. I promise you ask him in 3 years if he remembers that, he will.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I promise you, that's one that will absolutely stick around. And if you're trying to work toward living a happy life, one of the absolute fastest ways, and depending on how you look at it, you want to do the glass half empty or the glass half full approach. But no matter how you look at it, if you're trying to be happier, one of the biggest things that you have to avoid, right, is buying into the negativity. Allowing the negativity to actually affect you. And I know that people say, well, it's easier said than done. Yeah.
It is.
It does. I mean, no, there's something to the fact that it's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. But practice makes perfect, right? The reason that, it's difficult for most people is because they literally can't not look, right? I was that cat. You could just get to a point where you say, if there's something out there that bothers me, right, it's not going to go there. Do you know now, people, that and I'm sorry, go ahead and hate me, the snowflakes that are coming up, right, the snowflakery that is coming up, they go to these servers where they can go and hang out and talk and do what they do. When you show up, you tell them your pronouns. I'm not going to get in on that. You want to be called they, them, that, it, wit, I don't care. That's up to you. Whatever.
Right.
It means nothing to me. Right? But you then list your trigger words, right? These are the things you can't talk about because it'll upset me.
Wow.
And so can you imagine a room of 40 people and every one of them says, okay, do me a favor, Don't bring up the color blue. Drives me nuts. I go into a real tailspin, so you can't bring up the color blue. And the next guy says, oh, no, I understand. Lost a pet when I was 6. Can't talk about dogs or cats.
Right.
And you're just going, all right. Imagine trying to tell a story.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I got home and I just bought a colored thing and was going to feed it. I can't tell this story. And that's 3 people. The entire crew lists their trigger words. I got an idea. If the server you're going to discusses things that makes you uncomfortable,
leave.
Don't go to the server.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a big
it's
red
like
X.
The television shit. It's like the television set.
Yeah.
Right? If the news is really bumming you out, there's this little black box.
Boom.
You point it at the TV, right? You hit the up button.
Yeah.
It'll take you to a different channel.
100.
If that doesn't work, you hit the red button. It's usually in the top right-hand corner.
Yep.
Turn the damn thing off.
Yeah, and gosh, man, I mean, it's just a great point you're making, man, because I tell you guys, that's the thing. It's a choice. All of it is a choice. And, you know, when you walk into a server like that or anywhere in life, say you walk into an auditorium and you're going to a meeting or something, I mean, why don't you just go ahead and bring a big old carton of eggs so you can put the eggshells down so everybody can walk across them? I mean, because that's what that is the conversation that is being bred there, right? I mean, if you can't say how you feel, then you're lying to people. You know, you really are. You're lying to people about who you are, what you're doing, all this and that. And I'm not going to get into political things, but I do 100% agree with what you said there. And I think it applies to what we do, right? I mean, because it does, our lives. And Jesse said something a little while back here in the chat a little bit that I was actually going to mention, and I think Niall touched on it too. Guys, listen. I tell my kids this, and this applies exactly to what we're talking about. If you find something as you're coming up in school that you'd love to do, go do that after school, and then figure out how that can make you money. Don't go to the money first, because you're not going to be happy. Most of the time, you're not going to be happy. But that's back into what I'm saying here, guys. Those are all choices. We are choosing to do these things. And Tommy mentioned the coming out of prison thing. If anybody's ever seen that movie Shawshank Redemption, I'm sure most of you guys probably have. You know, what was that guy's name? I forget. The little short guy had been in there all of his life, and he ended up doing the thing that ends it all. And that's because he didn't know how to live outside of that environment.
Yep.
And that's what we had to do. And that's exactly what we're doing as addicts in recovery, as alcoholics in recovery, as people just trying to live our best life. We have to go out there and we have to assert ourselves and choose. Like Tommy said earlier, early on, it was difficult, to be happy, right? But he chose that. He chose to keep going for that. And guess what? Finally, he found it. And he was smart enough to know that that's what grabbed him. And I knew it was coming before he probably did, because he kept talking about once, like watches. I'm doing this watch thing and all this stuff. I mean, it just makes him happy. You can see it, and it's so great to see. And and I know he sees the happiness on my face, but I'm experiencing that too. But I want you guys to take that and apply it to your own lives. Start looking at people in that way. Don't look at them and see, alcoholic, drug addict. Don't look at them and see thief. Don't look at them and see a Linda or see a Karen is what they call them, right? Don't look at those people like that. You'll be surprised if they start doing that little snapping back at you. If you just, my mom used to call it this: kill them with kindness, because that's exactly what it is. So anyway, rant done.
There were some great comments. Roxana Mathis made a comment about opiates not being fun, alcohol not being fun. That moving forward and doing what you do, life really becomes fun. Also, Cemetery may have had the best piece of advice that has been doled out on the lifeboat in as long as I can remember. He says we need more cowbell. And I'll be honest with you, you can always use a little bit more cowbell.
You'll love it. Yeah.
Cemetery cracks me up.
Oh, yeah.
And Jesse says, not everything is a choice in our lives. the way we were raised and what environment we were raised in was not our choice. It might seem that way as an adult. Absolutely nothing that happens in your childhood is a choice. And very little of what happens to you in your adult life is a choice, right? You get in your car, you drive, something happens. The 5% is what that is. The how you deal with it. Now,
That's
I'm not
the
saying
choice.
things are easy to deal with as a kid, but as you grow, people deal with it, they cope with it. The example that always comes back to mind is if I tell you the story of Oprah Winfrey's childhood, right? You'd sit there and just go, you gotta be kidding, right? Impregnated by an uncle, right? At the age of 14, and the things that she went through, you could look at, if you just look at it on paper, you'd say, this is a junkie waiting to happen. This is a person who has more reason to drink than anybody on the planet, because we're used to people who take that kind of 5% and deal with it in those ways. And you can't blame them. I'm not throwing rocks at them or anything else, but it really is. I mean, what makes one person an Oprah Winfrey and what makes the next person an alcoholic or a drug addict?
Right.
You know, it's very oftentimes a little bit of intervention. Somebody that comes along and explains to them that, you know what, number one, not your fault, right? Because so often as kids, anything that happens to a child, they truthfully, bring that inward like they've done something wrong. But a little intervention, when someone said to her, you know what, this isn't your fault. That guy's a sick piece of trash,
Right.
But, with a little bit of coping, a little bit of therapy, a little bit of, she took the bull by the horns. And I don't think there's a woman in America these days that could be considered more successful. And by all accounts, a pretty happy woman. You can overcome damn near anything. It really has been proven over time. There are people that have written books, people that got through some situations that, you read and you go, good God, how is this person still breathing, much less positive and happy, right? There were survivors of Auschwitz who wrote books, and you just say, how can this person not hate the entire planet? How can this person, after watching what they went through, how are they not insane? How are they? It always comes down to, no matter how ugly it is, it always comes down to the fact that whatever happens to you, even if it's the most heinous thing in the entire world, even if you're one of the kids that survived what just happened in Texas, right? The rest of their life is going to be the 95%. Now, is that 5% ugly? It's going to be the ugliest 5% in history. It is going to take colossal amounts of therapy and working through, but I promise you people, 25 years from now, some of them are going to be drug addicts.
Yeah.
And some of them are going to be miracles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I mean,
That's the nature of it.
That's just what it is, man. I mean, and I think
they had no control, I promise you, of anything that just happened to them.
yeah, and that's I you just said it all, dude, for real. And that's, guys, we just gotta, we gotta, like we say all the time, happiness. Tommy said, what we did in our kid, what we do now, the situations we don't choose, right? We don't choose that. The choice that we talk about is the choice on how we react to those things. That's the choice, because we can't help what happens, what's coming at you. You know what I mean? Nobody can help that. And if anybody ever needed a laugh, all they got to do is look up here in the left top of the screen and see how y'all like that one. Just kidding.
Right?
Just kidding. So we're having fun tonight, guys. Sorry. But yeah.
By the way, I do have to throw out a oi, because if I'm not mistaken, like I said, I don't get to the comment section as often as I used to, and sometimes I miss some stuff, and if something catches my eye. But there is definitely an oi in there, because I'm
cool.
pretty confident I saw TNT back there.
Yeah, he was back there. TNT is back there.
Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Very, very perfect timing with you talk about a book that really is just, Good timing.
That's good.
Noetic, great call.
Yeah,
maybe the best.
Yeah, that's a definitely. If you guys are wondering what that book is, it's there in the comment there on the bottom. But yeah, I've read it myself. It's a good one. So please check that out, guys. It will definitely help. There's a lot of good stuff, guys. You know, we've forgotten how to pick up a book, and I know that we have ebooks, but I'm sorry, it's just not the same.
You know what? I am not a fan of ebooks. I really am not. I know that I've said on here many times in the past that I collect Alice in Wonderland books. I have a very, very large collection, and just recently I have to get it rebound. Unfortunately, the binding on it was not in great shape. But a person that I dealt with watches, did some watch repair with, said to me, "You're a big Alice in Wonderland fan, correct?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I came across a copy of Through the Looking Glass, and it's 1872. You know, and if you want it, you can have it." Now, this is another one of those things that I am a big, big fan of, and something that I know a good deal about. So I quickly turned to page 21 to look for an error, because there are 200 of those books that were printed incorrectly on page 21, and this is one of them. And because I am no longer the guy that I used to be, I swear to you, I said to him, "This is not just an 1872.
This is special.
This is literally one of the rarest ones." I said, "I know that, you know, the cover of this does not look good, but with the cover in good shape, this thing is worth a tremendous amount of money." And I showed him the screw up, and he's like, "And?" I was like, and I didn't want to take. He's like, "Yeah, okay." He's like, he's like, "I'm not going to go get the thing bound." He's like, "And be honest, you planning on selling it?" I said, "No." He's like, "Then what difference does it make what it's worth?" I was like, "Well, you make a good point."
Oh my God!
Yeah,
one noetic.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was awesome, awesome stuff. And one noetic, you're hitting it. I mean, old books are one of the best smells on earth. I have to agree.
No question.
I mean, it's just one.
No question.
Will our kids? will our kids ever know the difference? I mean, will they ever know that? I mean, will they ever know what a book smells like that, an old one? Yeah, I know you're laughing at the cow.
Yeah.
No, but
I got a fever, and the only cure.
Yep, that's right.
Is a cat in a basket.
There you go.
No, that's that cowbell. That's one of those. I know it's one of the most ridiculous skits in the entire world.
Yeah.
But it's another one of those things that it was one of those comedy things that my dad and I shared. The first time that either of us saw that, we were together, and it just, I had bought him a shirt one Christmas that said I could use a little more cowbell, and it was every time it came on, and when he broke into the internet and sort of was like, my dad was, of a generation long before me, but when he started to get hip to all the things you could do on a smartphone. He called me and said, you can just look up that cowbell scene and see it anytime you want. I was like, I said, yeah, I'm aware of that. He's like, I watch it all the time. It just was one of the most ridiculous.
But you say that, but that's a good tool to have in your belt, guys. That makes Tommy laugh, right? So why would he not have that in his tool belt to whip out when he's not feeling very good?
True story.
I mean,
or if I'm hurting, any kind of sort of nostalgic thing where I'm missing my dad and I'm hurting, those kind of things that we shared and laughed at, I can just put that back on and instantly it just turns the mood around.
It does, and I know that when we talked about when your dad the anniversary of his passing a while back, and anybody that's seen that show. Seen how Tommy reacted when I did tell him I was going to put that picture up. I halfway felt bad because I really wasn't thinking about that part of it, but I did, and obviously he appreciated that. But you seen how it affected him, and why I'm saying that is that even though that looked like that affected him in a kind of a bad way at the beginning because it touched him, right? Because people associate crying with sadness. That was a good thing for Tommy because he was looking at something that was happy. And we just have to do that, Find those things, guys. Find them. They're not just going to come up and bite you in the butt, man. They're just not. You got to go get that happiness. You got to go find it. And once you find it, again, try to hold on to it, remember it, replace those nasty memories with new ones. And assert yourself into the situations that you don't think that you can. But when you do so, put that tool belt on, walk in there, and see what happens. But only do it if you're ready. I mean, I get that.
Yep.
And let me tell you something, guys. There's still situations that I'm not ready for. And I have been in recovery on 11 years. So you know.
Sarah says, I think YouTube's suggests your video to me when you're wearing the fancy shirt. I'll wear it more often. All right, I promise. I'll put
That's
it on
awesome,
more
Sarah. Good to see you.
Oh, well, Tommy, this is, I believe this is Tommy Bahama. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure this is Tommy Bahama.
Yeah.
All right, people.
Yeah, we are at the top. So.
Yeah, we are at the top of the hour. So the takeaway from tonight's show, we really do need a little more cowbell. And you know what? If it's working, keep doing it. If it's not working, cut it the hell out. Right?
Exactly.
Keep striving. 5% and 95%. And that's just the secret of life. And no matter how you look at it, that really is what it comes down to. And I don't know, I'm spending a lot more time these days concentrating on things that make me happy, things that make me laugh, and things that make me feel good. You know, the lifeboat doesn't always make me laugh. Tonight it did. Sometimes the lifeboat can tear my heart out, but I always feel better when it's over. 100 out of 100 times. I really do. So we'll be back tomorrow night, right here, same time, doing what we do, because it's what we do. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody, people. And you know what? Try to get a couple laughs in. And for the love of God, more cowbell. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And this cat, who is not asleep, showed up in this basket about 30 seconds ago because she wants a treat. She knows if she doesn't show up in the basket before the end of the show, there'll be no treat. All right, people. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow night. God bless.